I'm Professor Emeritus in San Diego State University and an expert in child and family development with the focus on social-emotional development and trauma. I was the director of the Center for Children, Family and Schools and Communities at San Diego State University, and really delighted to be here. What we are going to do today is to focus on how to support our children during the pandemic, working with school and at home to make sure that our children are feeling okay and emotionally and mentally are able to cope with all the challenges that this period of time of the pandemic provide us with. So let me share the screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So really what we are seeing that during this time, actually almost 3 years, we are living in a time of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of confusion, wait. Why did I do that? Okay. And many families are not only concerned about being sick, and we talked before about the mask and the need to put masks, but really, how do we make sure that our children feel okay socially, mentally, with their friends, with their self-esteem, with their ability to cope with all these issues. What is really important for us to remember is that the mental health professionals are worried about the impact of the social distancing and the isolation on the mental health. And as Jessica Cruz, who is the executive director of the National Alliance on Mental Illness in California, she said that the pandemic, it's like the first wave of the tsunami. And the second and third wave are really going to be this behavioral health piece, which relates to really the mental well-being. So what I would like you to, What I would like us to do right now is really to think and reflect on how the children are doing. So try to think about the children that you know and you are familiar with, and think what are the changes that you have noticed during this time. So let's see who is willing to share. What do we see are the changes in children? So I will give an example. I have a colleague that her grandchild, 7-year-old, refuses during the time of the online learning, refused to get out of bed, refused to come to the screen and sit and interact with his teacher and his virtual friends, and really was completely depressed and isolated. Anyone else? Karina, Rosie, Susan, Gloria?
in many instances, we get calls at the office from parents, and I wrote it in the chat box that some of the children, they just don't want to go to school, you know, and there's a lot of anxiety around the issue of COVID. I had one mom who said that the teacher was anxious and she felt that her child was feeling that anxiety. And she said, oh, he's really getting more anxious day by day.
Any other examples? Thank you, Susan.
Sí, me gustaría compartir que al principio de la pandemia sí teníamos mucho miedo de regresar a la escuela, pero pues ahora con las vacunas uno se siente más protegido y uno se siente con más confianza de andar afuera en donde hay mucha gente. Entonces doy gracias a Dios por las vacunas porque eso es algo que nos mantiene como con más seguridad de que uno puede andar afuera y pues uno de adulto se lo transmite a los hijos. Si uno se siente con miedo, se siente preocupado, los hijos también se van a sentir con miedo y preocupación porque uno está transmitiendo todo toda la energía que uno tiene. Pero doy gracias a Dios porque en este momento mis hijas están más contentas de regresar en persona a la escuela, están asistiendo a la escuela y teniendo sus actividades. Y pues seguimos adelante mientras tengamos energías y tengamos salud, seguir adelante. Y pues gracias por las vacunas, gracias por el distrito que está administrando todas estas vacunas a toda la gente y pues doy gracias por eso. Gracias.
Thank you so much. So what we...
Let's share. Too late?
Excuse me?
Oh, I said I'd like to share. Is it too late?
No, it's not too late. Gloria, sorry.
Okay. I was just thinking about Friday. I believe it was Friday. We had or was it? No, it must have been Thursday. Friday was a holiday. On Thursday at March Fundamental, we had a pep rally. It's the first pep rally they've had this year in person. They had some virtual pep rallies. I didn't get to see those, but I assume they're not that exciting because, you know, pep rallies, you want to scream and shout and have fun. And so I don't really see that happening on virtual pep rally. But it just kind of made me really think about how these students haven't had this for 2 years, you know, and the students who are, I think at Marshall, because it's middle school and a high school, the middle schoolers also get to experience some of these kind of activities that other middle schools might not. I don't remember really having pep rallies in junior high, but anyways, I was just thinking about that, how some of these students, maybe they started their freshman year a while ago. Now they're juniors. This is their first pep rally. This is the first time they get to be around all these students. And I want to say that it was a blast, but it was really hot. I think it was still a really good event, and it was a great opportunity for them to have some camaraderie, you know. And even though the weather was very hot that day, I think it was a great experience, because otherwise we were all stuck inside indoors, you know, with artificial light, having, you know, distant relationships or conversations. And so I thought it was really interesting. I don't interact with students myself. Mostly I interact with parents and staff, but I just kind of was kind of trying to take that in, what that experience was like for them. It was just, it's
Absolutely.
very different times.
Absolutely. And for sure, many students missed on many type of traditions and rituals that we have in school. If it's graduation ceremony, if it's the first day of school where we come in person, and even when we came in person, you know, all the masks on the faces that are really not allowing this type of in-person type of interaction. It's more with fences all around. So I think it was better than the virtual space, but still our kids missed on a lot of opportunities for sure. So let me continue sharing my screen. So really what we have seen, the impact being with isolation and grief, with increased violence, because many times when kids were at home, parents were highly stressed. We know that marital conflict increased during this time, and it impacted children and their well-being. A lot of children lost the opportunities to form relationship and friendship. Their anxiety has increased their sense of isolation and depression. In addition to it, there were a lot of additional issues like food insecurities. Many parents couldn't go to work or lost their jobs, and resources were limited, and many parents were not able to help children at home, or even now academically. There are a lot of struggles, and schools are trying now to keep up and provide this enriched type of accelerated learning in order to catch up and close the gap. Loneliness, and we see very high level of depression. If before we didn't see depression in the younger ages, we see now very high numbers of children, 8, 10 years old, in middle school, in high school, but we really were more familiar with depression among teens, which we see more of it now, but we also see now in younger ages a sense of loneliness and depression, which we have to pay attention to. Because of the online learning, and even now with the in-person, there is sense of loss of teacher-child relationship and connection. We thrive on touch, on hug, on physical type of connection, and we don't have it. We are afraid to come closer, to put our hands around the shoulder of a child. And again, all this level of anxiety, in order to keep ourselves safe and healthy, cause sense of distancing and loss of relationship. This is something that we need to think about. We need to understand the importance of touch. As humans, we thrive on touch, and when we are touched physically, we actually have secretion of what we call the love hormone, which gives us the sense of content and positivity. And this is something that is extremely important to make sure that our kids feel the emotional energy around them that really can provide them with a sense of safety and security. So during the pandemic, you know, a human being have different needs, and as Maslow did the pyramid of needs, At the bottom, we have what we call our very basic needs. We need food, we need water, we need air to breathe in order to survive, right? Then we need safety, security. And then we need relationship, we need friends, we need to have self-esteem, and then we need to aspire to reach our dreams, our wishes. So during this period of time, we are really at the bottom. We are really all the time worrying about survival, about being healthy, and we are not paying attention to the belongingness and love need, to the esteem needs, or the self-actualization needs. And this is something that we need to pay attention to as well, because our needs are more than just basic needs. And the fact that for so long, we are on the survival mode of very basic needs, that's why we feel so exhausted. That's why people have this fatigue, because we don't have any type of refilling our energy. We are all the time on the basic needs mode. Okay, so any question before we move to a short video that I would like to show you? It's a video from the Center on the Developing Child at Harvard University. And it's really shows what stress is doing to us. So,
give our children what they need to grow to their full potential. And as parents, we play an important role in their development. But our parenting is affected by the supports and challenges in our lives, including experiences that cause what's known as toxic stress. Stress is called toxic when it doesn't let up, and there aren't supportive relationships to help us cope. That can make it hard to get through the day, let alone be the best caregivers we can be. The overwhelming burden of toxic stress can affect the health and well-being of adults. It can also affect the development of children in ways that can last a lifetime. Stress that puts us in a constant state of fight or flight can make it feel like we're always on edge, or like it's impossible to calm down. And these feelings can overload our ability to provide the supportive relationships that children need in order to thrive. Think of toxic stress as heavy cargo. Just as a truck can only haul so much weight before it stops moving forward, challenging life circumstances like losing a job or not having a place to live can weigh us down. And just as a truck can break down if it carries too much for too long, we too can wear down from being overburdened without the support we need. When toxic stress is related to things we can't control, like poverty, abuse, or racism, it can feel especially heavy to take on. But experiencing toxic stress doesn't have to determine who we are or how we act. And understanding how stress affects us can empower us to make change in our lives. There are things we can do to buffer ourselves and our children against the effects of even the most intense stress. Just as redistributing cargo from an overloaded truck can help it run again. Supports and services, things like food pantries, job training programs, or even just talking with someone who cares, can help us focus on caring for ourselves and our children. And just as regular maintenance is required to keep a truck running, reliable access to community services can help us manage the load during challenging times. Reaching out to give support can be difficult, but things that might seem very small, like sitting and breathing deeply, playing I Spy with your child, or even sharing a walk or a snuggle can make a difference. Over time, these small steps can build our resilience and our children's by strengthening the skills and relationships that help us cope. And our communities can build resilience too by providing services and opportunities that help all families thrive. Supports like these help build a strong foundation for developing brain architecture. So the earlier we can provide them, the better. But the brain is capable of change throughout life, and it's never too late for a tune-up. Coping with and healing from toxic stress takes a lot of effort and support. But we all need the help of others in difficult times. And building resilience and strength in our families and communities is one of the most important investments we can make as a society. In the end, it will help all of us become the parents that we want to be.
So I would like to hear, after watching the video, what is one thing that you took away from this video? What have you learned? What one thing that caught your attention?
Sí, pues este video nos está dando un mensaje de, por ejemplo, como lo que dice, no podemos enfocarnos en cosas que no podemos controlar y pues nos está dando el mensaje de ser como más conscientes, tener más paciencia, ser tolerantes ante muchas circunstancias que no están en nuestras manos. Pues lo único que podríamos hacer es cuidarnos, seguir las indicaciones que está en todo el mundo, pues esta situación no nomás es aquí. Y pues más que nada también nos está dando el mensaje de que tenemos que mantenernos saludables para poder seguir adelante. El estrés nos puede atacar en nuestra salud y conforme vamos avanzando en nuestra edad, es muy peligroso que no podamos controlar el estrés.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you, Karina. Anyone else would like to share what you have taken from this video? Gloria, thank you.
I thought it was interesting that I guess the solution to toxic stress, at least the way I understood it, was to share some of that burden with other people. I gave the example of food pantries and gave the example of talking to people who care as a solution. The other thing that kind of really struck me was that there are people that before the pandemic and after the pandemic have been already living on the survival mode with the food scarcity or the unemployment, the housing, lack of housing, all these different factors that have been in place. And so I don't know if this would maybe create more compassion towards people who are in continued hardship, but that's kind of what it made me think, that sometimes this is not a temporary situation for people, unfortunately. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in a sense, what you are saying, Gloria, is that people already, many of them, have encountered high level of stress and trauma and the pandemic actually was an add-on, has been an add-on to the pile of stressors that already are there, which actually means that the situation is even worse than we are thinking. So let me share again. So actually, when we are talking about toxic stress, we have been in the living under the pandemic for more than 2 years. So this prolonged exposure to these traumas of the coronavirus have activated the fight and flight response, which means that some of us, when we encounter difficulties and stress, we start to be very angry, very agitated. We lose our temper, we scream, we become more violent or aggressive in our behaviors. Some of us use the flight response, which means we withdraw, we become more quiet, more distant, more depressed, less active. We avoid people, we avoid situation. So these are different. It depends on our temperament and character and the way we are. Each one of us activate different type of survival response. But this type of response to stress, when it's constant, can cause physiological type of stress that can be reflected in cardiovascular problems, anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress. So I'm not going to talk about the brain and the part of the brain, but to make it very simple, we have two main parts of the brain that we need to take in consideration. We have what we call the downstairs brain. This is the brain that's responsible for the breathing and all the very basic functioning of the body. And we have the upstairs brain that is the thinking brain, a more cognitive, more rational brain. And in the middle, we have the emotional type of reactions. So when we are sensing this stress, usually we cannot think clearly. Think about yourself. When you are stressed and you have so many things, you feel like, I lose my mind, right? We say that, I lose my mind. I don't remember, I don't know, because we are operating with the downstairs brain. And children, think about children, when they are afraid or anxious or extremely stressed, they act out, they are really, you can't reason with them, they misbehave, they don't think clearly, they can't learn, they don't understand. So really what we are trying, our goal is to try to connect the children to the upstairs brain, connect ourselves to the upstairs brain with the ability to calm ourselves and be able to function. So there are two forces in the world, according to John Lennon, fear and love. When we are afraid, we pull back. We are operating on what we call the downstairs brain. But we're in love, we are open, right? We are ready, and we are excited, we are sharp. So this is something that we need to think about when we are living under so much stress. So this is the downstairs brain of a child, right? this child is so angry, so wants to explode. And sometimes we as adults feel the same. When children feel stress, they have a lot of fears, they have anxieties, they have sleeping problems, they can't go to sleep, or they have nightmares and they want to sleep in our bed, or all these issues around sleeping. Issues with eating as well. They are very angry, startled, they are overreactive, they cry a lot, they are irritable, they scream, they are really, we see a child that is overly reactive, or we see children that are very sad, very numb, withdrawn, and they have memory and concentration problem. This is a child that has a stomachache and they don't want to go to school because they don't feel well, and all kinds of other type of depressive symptoms. So our job as parents is to really make sure that our children feel better, and we need to make sure that we connect with teachers and the school to see that everything is okay with our children, because sometimes we don't know if our child is okay if we are not engaged with the school and with the teacher. And it begins with relationship. We need to build this relationship so we can learn more about how we can help our children. So what is important is to have this positive, sensitive adult-child relationship. And here is, as parent, we want to make sure that we pay attention to the changes in the moods of our child, the changes in sleeping, changes in eating, different changes that can give us indication that something is not okay. And also being in touch with the school and communicating with the teachers to see that things are okay. And if you see that things are not okay at home or with your child, you have this type of gut feeling that something is not so okay, contact the teacher, say, you know, I see that something is going on with my child. Have you noticed anything? This type of communication is really, really critical. So what I would like to ask you now is to think about conversation and questions that you can have with your child. Can you think about examples of conversation that you have or you had with your child addressing their concerns about the pandemic? What type of issues have you addressed with your child during the pandemic? Or if it's not your personal child, what type of suggestions have you given parents when they came to you to address different type of problems? What have you suggested to them to how to communicate with their child about different issues? Who would like to give an example of this type of conversations?
Bueno, por ejemplo, yo siempre, sí, mi esposo y yo siempre hemos sido unos padres que hablamos abiertamente con nuestras hijas. Tenemos 3 muchachas, ya una está en la universidad, tengo otra que está en high school y la más chiquita que está en elementary. Y por igual hablamos con todas a su nivel de conocimiento por sus edades. Y pues sí, estamos conversando con ellas abiertamente sobre lo que uno como adulto está tomando las cosas, tratar de tranquilizarse, saber cuáles son sus preocupaciones de ellos, darles sugerencias. Pero gracias a Dios, ahorita con mis hijas, yo me he dado cuenta que lo están tomando. Al principio fue un poquito pues sorpresivo como lo que fue para todos, pero poco a poco yo fui platicando con ellas. ¿Cómo te sientes cuando estás en tu clase en línea? ¿Te gusta? ¿Qué te gustaría? ¿Te gustaría que regresaran en persona? Saber cuáles son sus intereses en el momento. Y pues doy gracias a Dios porque gracias a esa comunicación que tenemos abiertamente, nos hemos dado cuenta que podemos saber cómo podemos apoyarlas y nos damos cuenta cómo es que ellas se sienten. Igual les damos sugerencias, les damos opciones referente a lo que ellas están comunicando con nosotros. Mi hija, que es un poquito ansiosa, ella está en el high school y ella me ha comentado que a veces ha tenido que ir con la psicóloga de la escuela porque se siente muy bien hablando con ella. Y también me deja saber que habla con ella lo mismo que habla conmigo y la psicóloga le dice lo mismo que yo ya le dije, pero ella se siente a gusto hablando con otra persona que no sea su mamá. Tal vez para comparar lo que la otra persona le está diciendo cuando aún ya se lo comentó a su mamá, ella me dice, solamente quiero saber qué me podría decir ella, pero resulta que me dice lo mismo que tú me has dicho, lo mismo que me ha dicho mi papá. Entonces yo le pregunto a ella, le digo, claro, le digo, sí, si tú te sientes a gusto hablando con la psicóloga de la escuela, ve a conversar con ella cada que tú sientas la necesidad de hacerlo. Y pues al principio cuando regresaron en persona sí lo hizo más seguido, tal vez lo hizo seguido por 2 meses, pero a partir de esos 2 meses le he estado preguntando y ha sido con la psicóloga a platicar, no, ya me siento muy relajada, me ha ayudado mucho y ya no he tenido que ir con ella. Le digo, pues cada que tú necesites, ya sabes, puedes hablar con quien tú quieras, con que tú te sientas más confortable, con quien tú tengas más confianza. Y pues me he dado cuenta pues de cómo se siente cada una de mis hijas y pues como son cada una edades diferentes, tienen diferentes necesidades y pues gracias a Dios lo han estado tomando bien y como vuelvo y repito, tal vez todo tiene que ver cómo los padres lo están tomando porque los padres transmitimos nuestros sentimientos a nuestros hijos. Si los padres estamos tranquilos, nuestros hijos se mantienen tranquilos. Si los padres estamos ansiosos, los hijos se van a mantener ansiosos. Porque nosotros transmitimos todo a nuestros hijos, puesto que están aquí viviendo en nuestra casa, estamos el día a día con ellos, la mayoría de las horas del día, y si los padres estamos estresados, transmitimos el estrés a nuestros hijos. Gracias.
Thank you, Karina, and I think it's so important that our children are able to connect with professionals when they feel that they need the help, and we support that. And I know that Pasadena Unified has mental health services as well that I'm sure we can put the link in the chat box and and provide the information how to access these services, because indeed sometimes we need to use this type of support in order to feel better and address our issues. But many times it is important that when we see that our child is behaving differently or something is going on, is to really come and ask what's going on. Not to accuse or not to say, look at you, you are not talking to me, I need to, but really trying to open it with, I see that you are very quiet. What's going on? You're very quiet today, or you seem sad. Something happened? I'm here for you. Sometimes I feel sad, or sometimes I feel stressed, and then I go and talk to my friend, to my mom, to whoever. You can give an example. So it's really important that you share also how you solve your own issues, who helps you. So your child sees that there is no shame in seeking help or opening up. Now, when your child is younger, it might be easier to have this conversation. When children are a little bit older, in their teens, sometimes they don't want to talk to us, right? But what is important is to make sure that we tell them we are here for you. I see that you are struggling and I want to help you. Or if you need to talk to anyone, here, you can talk to me, or we can set up a time with a professional that you can talk. You don't have to talk to me, but as long as you talk to somebody, this is important. So let me share again my screen. In order for us to really help our children, we need to remember to do several things. We need to maintain routines. So, of course, routines for younger children are different from older children, but it is important that we have things that are scheduled during the day, that our kids know that they are going to happen. So, for example, we eat dinner together, or there is a certain routine in the morning as we are going to school. And these are routines that provide us a sense of safety and security because they are familiar. So this is something that is important, especially during the time that everything is changing and a lot of stressors are around. It is important to be honest and provide information that is accurate. Don't think that, oh, my child is young, so I'm not going to answer their questions. You don't need to provide children with information that they don't ask for, but when they ask you questions, be honest and encourage your child to really open up and talk to you. I find out that the best time is during bedtime, when your child lays down, and even when they are older, when you come and sit at the edge of the bed and you have a conversation, and really be aware of changes in the moods and behavior of your child. Now, parents need to take care of themselves. And as we saw in the video, you know, the metaphor of the truck that needs maintenance. Even a car needs maintenance. So people need maintenance as well. And we need to make sure that we are okay. When you go on a flight, for example, they tell you to put first the oxygen mask to yourself before you put it to your child, because if you are not okay, you cannot take care of your child. So this is something that is extremely important. So there are 5 things that are protective factor for parents that makes families stronger. The first one is the ability of a parent to maintain their strengths, their emotional strength, their mental strengths. Usually, these are people that have hope, they have positivity, they cope with the crisis or the situation, but they know that they have their religion or their spirituality or something to give them this hope that things are going to be okay. Social connections is another factor that is important to have. So if I have my neighbors or my extended family and my friends, that the school personnel, the teachers, the other parents in my child class that can help me, that I can call and say, I really don't understand what needs to be done here. Can you help me? Really, another one is the understanding of your child needs and development. So knowing, for example, that when your child is getting to their teens, they are more moody, they have this type of mood swings that are more developmentally appropriate, right? Or when your child is very young, that they can have acting out type of behaviors. Because again, it's part of a young child being able to learn and to regulate and control themselves. So there are different developmental tasks that are appropriate to different ages. And this type of knowledge can help us as parents to know my child is fine, or, oh, whoa, I need to start worrying about my child. Having concrete support in times of need. So if we can have food pantry, or we have social services, or we have teacher support, or counseling services at school, or whatever is there when we need it, is very critical. And the social emotional competence of children can help us as well. If our child can deal with stress, or we can help them and teach them how to deal with stress, all these together help us to do better. So what I always say, take a minute for yourself and put your one arm on your tummy and one on your chest, and just inhale and then exhale, and do it again. And feel how you can relax. So the first thing that I always suggest to parents and to teach the children as well, when you feel that you are overwhelmed, just stop. Stop and take a deep breath. And just close your eyes and fill your body with air, and then release it little by little. And this actually helps calm and relax your body. And in a sense, gives you this type of ability to connect the lower brain, the downstairs brain, with the upstairs brain. Because the minute we are inhaling and exhaling and inhaling and exhaling, we are able to calm down. When we are calm, we can connect to our thinking brain, and we can figure out, okay, what do I need to do? So what is important is for us to remember that, that self-care, taking care of ourselves, is not a selfish act. It's really something that is important to do. It's like the only gift that I can put on earth to offer others. So again, when we take care of ourselves, and each one of us takes care of ourselves in a different way. I would love to hear what do you do to take care of yourself? Who would like to share?
Sí. Sí, bueno, yo lo que practico mucho es estar tranquila, saber que las cosas se van a hacer a su tiempo. Trato de no presionarme tanto por todas las cosas que tengo que hacer en el día. Tengo una agenda donde voy día con día por hacer las cosas. No me preocupo mucho por si la casa está arreglada o no está arreglada. Trato de hacer una vez a la semana el quehacer de la casa. Por ejemplo, dejo el quehacer de la casa para el sábado o el domingo y trato de no sobrecargarme de cosas, incluyendo la casa, durante toda la semana. Solamente me preocupo por lo más esencial y eso me ha ayudado mucho porque me siento menos estresada, me siento más tranquila y como yo me he dado cuenta que me está funcionando, lo sigo haciendo. Y pues eso es lo que a mí me ha ayudado mucho, tratar de poner en mi mente de que las cosas se van a hacer a su tiempo, de que no lo tengo que hacer todo rápido, no lo tengo que hacer todo en un solo día. Hay día para cada cosa y conforme vaya siendo el número de las cosas desde lo más importante hasta lo menos importante, eso me ha ayudado mucho, saber cómo numerar mis prioridades. Muchas gracias.
Great. So really how we manage our tasks is one way to self-care. Doing things that we love, either cooking, either listening to music, running, talking on the phone, watching TV is something that we enjoy watching, talking to a friend, going outside and gardening, whatever it is that we love to do can give us this type of relaxation. And many times I tell parents, when you feel that you are getting anxious or you are going to respond in a way that you are going to regret later, just stop, take a deep breath. If you need to go outside, and remove yourself, this is a great way to make sure that you can connect to your upper brain and be able to respond in a way that is appropriate. So we have talked a lot during this time about what you do at home, the conversation that you can have with your children, the questions that you can ask, the things that can help you. But when you look at the school, because your child spends a lot of time in school, what would you like schools to do in order to support your child? Or what are they doing already that you like it and you feel that is very supportive to your child? And maybe in this conversation also, Gloria, Susan, you can contribute to what the schools are doing already to support families and children well-being, as well as their academic learning and success.
We have a very robust options for parents for services about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And all of our campuses are connected to community agency that serves children directly on campus. And also we have a specific department at the district. It's called Child Welfare Attendance and Safety. And they have two coordinators whose kind of, the primary task is to kind of make available many counselors and therapists for our children and families to help support them with anything, and specifically these days, things that have to do with COVID and the anxiety and the mental health issues that kind of we're seeing and experiencing with our children. So fortunately, our families have those resources in place at the sites and also through the district services.
Wonderful. Gloria?
Yes, so like I said, I'm not really around the students, but I know that Marshall Fundamental recently got a grant to buy a lot of yoga mats. I don't remember how many. And I know that the Wellness Center also have yoga mats. So I'm assuming the students are doing yoga. I haven't seen them myself, but I think that that's really great. When my son was younger, they did yoga in one of his classes. And I don't know that it was fully yoga. I feel like it was more meditation, and just learning to calm down and, be able to control your feelings and your breathing. I think that's so powerful for students to be able to realize that they have some say in how they feel, and get out of maybe panic mode or whatever else it might be that they're feeling at the moment. Yeah.
Yes, actually, yoga and meditation are very powerful type of calming ways for that are being used in many schools, and also different expressive arts. If it's music, if it's movement, if it's painting, all these type of projective type of ways that one can express their inner self, inner world, are extremely important, because sometimes we can see a child that seems fine, but looking at their drawing or painting, you can see this type of anxious type of expression that you can then start a conversation, and you can say, tell me about your painting, or tell me about the way you feel when you paint something like this or draw something like this. Or we can do a different type of movement and say, when you feel sad, how do you move? And when you feel happy, how do you move? And all these type of exercise are extremely critical. And it is important that we encourage schools to offer this type of yoga and meditation and expressive arts, especially during these times, as a mean to support the well-being of children, for sure. Karina, what would you like schools to do more if you could advise them? If you could change something in schools, what would you tell them that you wish they do for children during this time?
Sí, bueno, sé que en las escuelas está este programa que mencionaban sobre, no recuerdo en este momento el nombre de la posición, pero viene siendo así como para tratar el comportamiento del niño, ya sea que es como el RTI, algo así se llama. Y pues tiene también psicóloga la escuela. En este momento me gusta mucho. Mi hija está en el programa de inmersión dual en francés y en este momento ella está teniendo muy buena instrucción, porque me doy cuenta que cada uno de los alumnos en su clase están teniendo trabajos semejante a su evaluación de aprendizaje. Entonces, me gusta mucho eso. Pues hasta ahorita yo diría que pues las escuelas están haciendo muy buen trabajo, y también diría que estos nuevos programas que están implementando están ayudando mucho. Doy gracias por eso. Y pues en este momento, pues estoy muy contenta porque después de que comenzaron a regresar a la escuela en persona, han tenido muchas precauciones, han tenido muchos cuidados, están haciendo lo que tienen que hacer. Me doy cuenta pues por la escuela de mis hijas. No sé si todas las escuelas estén teniendo los mismos programas, los mismos que yo estoy mirando en la de mis hijas. Espero que sí, porque pues todas las escuelas pertenecen al distrito de Pasadena, ¿verdad? Y pues sé que lo están implementando y espero que los estén teniendo en acción, estén activos estos programas. Y pues quiero dar gracias por eso.
Thank you, Karina. And yes. So, did I hear anyone? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Karina, for this. And indeed, when we have teachers or coaches that can influence our child, this is also very important. So as parents, when we know, for example, that the French instructor is a great influence on my child, this is the person, for example, I would connect if I had any concern, because they might be more influential and reach out to my child in an easier way than maybe I can as a parent. So always remember to identify who are the teachers, coaches that play a major role in our child's life. And those are the people that we can connect with when we need some help, advice, support, because they can make a difference when they reach out to our child. Okay, so this brings us to almost the end of our session today. And I know that Suzanne, you wanted to do evaluation and Raffle. I want only to say that the issue of the well-being and mental health of children is something that it's not easy to identify, and we need to really pay attention to the different type of behaviors and notice what's going on, and not be afraid to ask. And even when our child pushes us back and try to avoid, we all the time need to reinforce the fact that we love them, that we are here for them, and that we want to help them the best we can. And they can let us know how.
Sí, disculpe. Sí, Betsy. ¿Vas? Sí, te quería comentar, el link, si le presiono para hacer la evaluación, me dice que tengo que dejar la junta, la reunión.
I don't know.
That is odd, Karina, because I'm trying the link and it's not saying that. Gloria, can you try the Spanish one? The first one is the Spanish.
Yes, I tried both already, and it keeps saying the same.
Oh, she's calling from her cell phone?
No, it's on the Chromebook.
I'm not having any
No, it shouldn't.
English or Spanish.
I'm trying from my end. It's opening up. Maybe Gloria could try it to see maybe it's from Karina's end, or is it the link? Because the link looks okay from my end.
Yes, I tried it both in English and in Spanish, and they both opened for me. I don't know if maybe she has like a pop-up window or something. Maybe that's what's preventing it.
Okay, Bestie, could you tell Karina that I will email her the link? Yes, I could do it right now. Yes. She could. Okay, if she wants me to do it right now, could you tell her to put in the chat box her email address instead of me looking for it?
Sí. En español.
Yes, I will send her the Spanish version.
Sí, para Susan o para todos.
No, I'm sending it to you, Karina.
¿Solamente mi correo o también mi
Yeah.
nombre?
Just to your email address. If you could put it in the link in the chat box, I'll send it right now.
Ok, gracias.
Okay, thank you, Karina.
Ok, ya lo puse.
Got it. Okay, I'm sending it to you right now. You can complete it, you know,
Ok, gracias.
whenever you can. It's just a short. Okay.
And do you want to raffle?
Ok, muchas gracias.
Let's stop the taping. Let's finish and I'll do the raffle.
Okay.
Oh, there's a raffle. No way.
I sent it to you, Karina.
I forgot. I should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any additional questions or should we close the workshop? And then I'll do the raffle.
Bueno, pues solamente dar las gracias por su tiempo. Fue una reunión muy informativa. Aprendí mucho y pues gracias por la invitación. Y pues gracias también por todo lo que está haciendo el distrito referente a los cambios con la pandemia, los nuevos cambios que está haciendo las escuelas. Y estoy muy agradecida por eso.
Basti, please tell Karina to stay along for a minute. Okay. Any other questions or should
Sí, muchas gracias.
De nada, Karina. Okay, this brings us to the end of our workshop. Thank you so much, Dr. Whitblatt, and thank you, participants. We appreciate that you were able to join us and have a good evening.